as how
Yes,
the
man. Nothing
eyesight,
distant.
the beginning, the concept of the beginning. If is there a beginning, or must there be a beginning, or can there be with like how is that the beginning?
All right. If you look at black people's experience in the Western world, particularly under the enslavement campaign,
Mm-hmm.
philosophy wasn't something that we were. That we invented philosophy because we taught the Greeks how
True.
to think.
Yes, I.
Right. So we are original thinkers. That's why we could think out a pyramid and think out the solar system. We are the original thinkers.
Yes, I.
Now, we have always had a brain. I know the black man brain is millions of years old. Now, since we come into the West and been given the scripture and the Bible, the first thing that the Bible tells us is in the beginning.
Yes, I.
Is the first line. And whether you accept it or not, it planted in us from we were children in the
Yes.
beginning. And the
Yes.
curiosity of you as an individual now, you want to know where you come from as an individual. So you ask your mother or your father.
Mm-hmm.
So we do have an interest in origins. I don't want to call it the beginning. We have the concept in origins, how
True.
things originate.
True. Because one thing I've
No,
noticed, Doctor, Doctor, if you don't mind, the concept of the beginning, right? When I notice, for instance, going to mind and mindset again, um, religious people's concept of the beginning tends to be coming from the garden.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. And do we?
Yes, I am
Go ahead.
listening.
No, man,
So,
go ahead, Bridget.
so everything that proceeds from their mindset from that point is coming from that garden. And
See it there?
I realized that the garden reasoning is such a compressed, the gardening reasoning, how can I, okay, as I and Joshua was reasoning the other day, I realized that there's religious history and there's actual history.
Aye, wonderful.
And
Biblical history and African earth history.
yeah, so the biblical history, which the Judeo-Christian history, which most of the people in the world tend to subscribe to, has a beginning, and
Right.
the beginning starts with the garden. So I
Yes,
realized
I.
the garden gives one it go back to mindset. It gives one a compressed mindset to the extent that the individual won't even be able to fathom certain length of time, certain anciency, even
Yes.
certain existence. Like not the mind, like
Yes.
okay, like the garden limited the garden limits the mind. So it's like two beginning, you know,
Or
even to the
or
extent
capture
even
I capture I say it captures your imagination.
it captures the imagination to the extent that they can't fathom anything outside of the garden.
Aye.
But outside of the garden now is where I and I thoughts could flourish to the extent that I and I could say there is no beginning. It just is.
Yes.
it
Yes.
simply
Yes.
is. You know,
Yes.
so
And it's ideas of time now, because they give us a vision that time was a beginning
yes,
and that time was an end. So
yes.
they control time. So they control it. They start it in the garden, they stop it at the flood, they restart it at the flood, then stop it again and born Jesus, and they stop it. So these people have been manipulating our concept of time, that we are slaves. We are slaves
Yeah.
in, locked up in like a time zone.
Yeah, because if your whole worldview and your whole concept is married to this garden timing, then you're out of timing.
You're out of
Because
timing.
yeah, you're out of the timing with your ancestral timing. You're out of timing
Aye.
you're out of timing with nature.
See there? See there?
Yeah,
So
you're out of
when we
timing with
talk about
nature.
liberation of the soul now, the soul have to be seed set beyond the beginning and before. There can be something that happens after the beginning and then you're gonna free that. There's no liberation coming out of a beginning like how they give us.
Right.
We you can't be liberated coming out of a plantation that they call a garden. It's a
R-
plantation construct,
Yes. Yes, it is.
And Lord God is the first plantation owner.
Yes, yes, that the first master in the garden.
Yeah.
Yes.
And we must stop calling these people masters and call them owners. We were never they were never our masters, at no time in history.
Yeah, because master is a discipline.
Yes, and it also suggests that there's an implied subject.
Yes.
within the
Something to
concept
be
of the master
mastered.
slave.
Yeah,
Yes.
something to be mastered.
So we can't attribute that to white people as our former slave masters. We never had slave masters from day one.
No, they just try that thing.
Yeah, they owned us as cattle, and we
Yeah,
can't hide from that. But we have to recognize that even in that ownership, our consciousness allowed us to realize that we have no masters except our own consciousness. There are
yes,
no
I.
masters.
Yes, I.
So we have to actually reclaim that as part
It's
of
a,
our liberation.
there's a lot to be reclaimed. There's a lot to be reclaimed. But like I
Serious.
said, the abandonment of the garden concept is a power in reclaiming is a powerful step in reclaiming the thinking, because I believe
Yes, my brother.
that's one of the beginning of the subjugation of the thoughts, where other subjugations align with it. You know?
Well, that's it. That's a nail on the head. And
Yeah.
we as people, we are free to go in there as if the metaphor is so powerful. We can't realize that the serpent could be just a prick, symbolic language of a serpent, anaconda, and the
Mm.
European English language with metaphors. So we can't go through that with our limited knowledge of English. But if we
True.
advance our knowledge of English, we can see that these things are not practical.
No.
That is all symbolic, and African people were way over in Africa watching these things. We were never part of the garden.
No. No.
You
Way
see,
too ancient for the garden.
you see.
Yeah.
So part of the process is to allow people to lose the fear of interrogating the conversation that Eve had with the serpent and the nakedness. All of those things have us in bondage, you know. We
Yes,
can't
I.
ask any question. We can't ask any question at all about the beginning. We just have to hold it and just accept it.
Yeah, because it's even the garden reasoning. I realize the garden reasoning carry a compressed timeline. That's
Yes, man.
that's a delusional timeline. For instance, like I was
Exactly.
reading, say, telling the man, say, yo, no Israelites was ever captured in Kemet. Like that never
Right.
happened. The only
Yes.
way that the only way that's like that's a Bible story. When I say that's a Bible story, that's the only way you could fathom something like that is if you have to have a garden timeline. If you have any real historical timeline, you know that that just never happened.
It never
You know?
happened, right?
But if you're invested in the garden timeline, it's your world history.
Brethren, it takes you straight to Revelation and the end of the world, and you can't get off of that track.
Yeah, and anybody would talk different seem like they on a either they're not craziness, or like you just can't fathom that.
And sometimes that's a because that's a compliment. Sometimes when you hear people tell you that, you just you realize that you're okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So I realized that there's a lot. There's religious history, and like I said, there's actual history, and there's a lot of people who are heavily invested in the religious history, or the Bible history, or the Quran history, or whatever history that they
Yeah.
invested in. So invested in it that they'll dismiss actual history. Like
Right.
any
Right.
actual history. Like for instance, in the case of Ethiopia, I often tell Ethiopia have a history that predates Christianity.
Oh, of course. Well,
But when the
and I'm
when
about to
the
talk.
yes, I.
Christianity in Ethiopia predates the Christianity in Europe by over 1,000 years.
Absolutely, that's a fact. That's as a matter of fact, that's why most black religious apologists, whenever they're cornered on Christianity, they always go to Ethiopia, even though before they might never mention anything about blackness and Christianity. But if they ever get cornered, they will always go to Ethiopia, because Ethiopia have a
Yeah,
Christian.
as a refuge.
Yeah, because Ethiopia have a Christian antiquity that predates, like I say, most are European. But that being said, Ethiopia still have a tradition that predates Christianity. You know,
Of course.
but
Of course.
and this is not, and to be actually honest, most nations have a history that's not really the actual history, but it's a history that
They
aligns
call
with
it a mythology.
exactly. Most nations have a mythology that does not, you know what I mean? That doesn't some nations go harder than others with it. Like for instance, some go so hard to like have what they might call a theocracy. Ethiopia
All
being one of
right.
those, Ethiopia being one of those places. A lot of those Islamic countries is one of those places. In those places, you'll find the people them completely abandon whatever history that existed before the whatever history that existed before the religious history. They've completely abandoned that, meaning that like there's no mention of it. Like even if you like this, like it never existed. You know what I mean?
But
But
I tell you something too.
yes, I.
When you, as African black people, we need to take a stronger grip around the sciences like astronomy, geography, anatomy and physiology. We need to take up these sciences to really identify who I and I really is. Because remember that,
Absolutely.
it's we bring these sciences into practicality,
Yes, yes, absolutely. Because to take up these sciences, like I say, doctor, would be one of the way to really revive I antiquity. These
Yes,
science,
I.
I feel these sciences are more relevant to I antiquity than any type of religious thinking or any type of religious
And
investigation.
and the geographer, cause look here.
Hmm.
Earth have a history,
Yes, I.
Earth history is in the billions. You can't entertain that if you hold on to in the beginning, You can't talk about millions. It doesn't fit into that time frame.
Right. For matter of
Yeah?
fact, to the extent that I would go so far to say that it's still even being it's still being developed. I don't think that even in the field of sciences they know how old man actually is.
Look here. Man, you see, I as
Mm.
man is ageless because we are colonizers of this planet, but that's another long story, right? How we
True.
get here. Because we didn't come out of no dirt. I know woman ribs and all them things. So our own genesis has not been explained to us.
Yes.
So as mentioned about the earth, if we look at the history of the earth, and that the earth is a place where we occupy as our home. The foundation of our living really comes from the plant kingdom. It's the
Yes.
plants that really allow life to be possible on the planet. No, they don't teach us about the history of the plant kingdom,
No.
but the plants are more important to us than even the animals.
Yeah, we
And
can't.
more
We can't.
critical,
They cycle the air.
yes, they create food, medicine, everything, and oxygen. There's
Yes.
no life on the planet without the green plants, not just regular plants, the green plants.
Yeah. They
No,
and they exist. Yes, I'm
there's a
listening.
relationship between the green plants now and we, the black people, we, the African people. There's a direct relationship between the green plants and the black people. And that rests now in the concept of having pigment in our system.
Yes.
This is where the pigmented construct come in, where there's pigment in the green plants and there's pigment in the black people. What is the power of that pigment?
That's a serious
So,
reasoning.
yeah, man, we're pushing the thing where we're connecting the sciences of anthropology and science and biology and anatomy, but we're pushing it from a black angle. So we connect ourselves to the plant kingdom because we have melanin and the green plants have chlorophyll. And both
Like
of us are driven by the power of the sun.
the sun. Yes.
Now the SON has become the delusion because the white man has slipped in that SON, knowing that it's really the SUN that we used to pray to. So we have abandoned the real life energy to follow now the SON of God, which is the same Jesus thing.
Hmm. When
So
it's really the
why I'm saying this, we have to connect ourselves to biology. If we begin to define ourselves at a biological level, not just spiritual. Everybody can claim a spirit. Everybody can tell you that them spiritual.
yes.
But there's a biological foundation of black people. That is we hold it. That's what keeps us unique.
Yeah, and it has everything to do with our alignment with it actually has everything to do with our alignment with nature,
Yes, yes.
and that means
And each
everything.
other. And each other.
Yes.
The psychology and the biology.
Hmm. Let me
Aye.
have a little thing that let me as I mentioned the sun. Let me read a little thing that I have we are drawing the sun. It says the sun was deified by many ancestors, people all over the world. Different civilizations and cultures independently worship the sun.
After.
Apollo, Apollo, the Roman sun deity, was believed to be the god of light and healing. In the ancient Greek literature, they say Helios was described as the sun god bearing the aureoles, driving a chariot across the sky. They say
Yeah.
the ancient Kemet, Ra was the sun, a manifestation of divinity. They believe that man was born from the tears of Ra. The Chinese believe that there were 10 suns that appeared in turns. The Hindu people believed in saluting the sun by assuming certain yogic postures and chanting sacred mantras. The
Yeah.
exercise was still known as the Surya, the Namaskar, and is still performed today. I'm just saying this as I mentioned the alignment with nature and the
Yes,
importance
man.
of the
It's
sun.
it's it's the Europeans who come and tell us that hell is hot, because they can't take the sun.
Yeah, because of
Lacking of lacking of
the
the
lack of
protection, the lack
the
of
lack of
protection,
melanin.
which is which is the natural protection from the sun.
Yes, because
And it doesn't. You
yes,
see
I.
the idea of the sun. Well, how are we introduced to it now in the Bible? You say in the beginning God created heaven and earth, and it stopped right there. So in my own mind, I ask what created hell, but that's another story, right? Right? Heaven and earth. And then in a little briefing, we are told that God said, "Let there be light."
Yes.
And there was light. So in other words, everything was in darkness before. So we must acknowledge now that the sun just pop up out of darkness, out of nothing, the sun just pop up, right?
Hmm.
And earth was in darkness. And then they said, "Let there be light." But
Hmm.
if you look at astronomy, the earth could never be in place before the sun.
The sun is the most biological requirement for survival and perpetuation. We owe our very existence to it. If there was no
Existence to the
sun,
sun.
there would be no earth, so no
All
life, no
right.
mankind.
Okay.
The
All
very
right.
first life, the very first life forms on planet Earth employed sunlight as the raw material for survival.
Yeah.
They were photosynthetic organisms,
Yes,
atrophic
I.
organisms. Even today, after the age of evolution, they persist. We all have evolved from these primitive sun-dependent life forms. Although we have emerged as the most complex being, we have still remained very basic, dependent on sunlight, and that's just
Solar
from the
energy.
yes side. That's
Yes.
just that's not that's from a biological, scientific Earth alignment level.
So in other words, now you have left
Mhm.
out the spirituality part and you have left out the religious thing.
Yes, I.
And we look at ourselves more natural now.
And that's where an
So
powers exist. That's where an
that's yeah,
strength
that's
lies.
yes. So the confusion within the language when the European realized that the power really is sun. So they create a religion where we worship a son. All we lacked on was the sound. Because that concept of the sound is deep in our memory, the power of the sun. But
Yeah.
we never knew that a son could be a white man too, with blue eyes and blonde hair. We never knew that that could be a son.
They ascribe all the attributes of the sun to the sun to the son.
Yes,
But the
yes.
sun is
And so
like
we
but the sun is eternal, and the reason they have they have an adversarial relationship with the sun. Them and the sun,
totally
them and the sun have an adversarial relationship.
war. They're at war with this sun because they come out of the caves, they come out of the ice culture, and they cannot survive.
Yeah,
Right?
because
They are ice people, and we are children of the sun. Now, if we were to embrace those ideas, we wouldn't need any Bible.
truth. All right.
We wouldn't need any Bible because we have our moral principles a long time. We didn't need a book to tell us that thou shalt not kill.
No,
and,
but
and, and you must leave your wife, leave your neighbor's wife alone. Nobody didn't ever tell us that.
yeah, no one. No, that's just natural.
Yeah, that was our natural moral principles.
Yeah.
But we have forgotten, Bridget, we have forgotten who we really are, and they have done a good job in making us forget. They've done a very good job, but some of us get out. Dr. Ben, all our scholars has been leading the way out.
Yes.
And we just have to realize that we have amongst ourselves our own genius them who are reborn now.
True. And so we have to highlight our intuition to even seek like the information from the Dr. Ben and such, because they, even in the age of information where all of this information is more accessible, ones don't seem to be ones don't seem to be accessing it, as you know, now that it's so
Yes.
widely available. Now that it's so widely available, ones don't seem to be as accessing it. Like the information that Dr. Ben and all these ones garnish, they really had to work
Yeah.
hard for that information. They couldn't sit down in their living room and get that information.
Right.
Yeah, but
So,
nowadays one
so
and one
part
could
of
sit down right in the house and get that information and still won't, you know?
so maybe part of our work is to make sure the body of work that them man create is at a place where some people can reach it in a collection, you know? Like you have
Yeah,
a site with all the writings of those people in one place.
yes, I.
And you can send a youth to go check such a site. And all the people come up. We have to create our own framework, our own thing now, you know?
Yes, I. Even though at the same time, it's all accessible. It's just like if I one don't know, you know.
There's that problem with accessibility, you know, 'cause it also creates greater distractions. There are more things to distract you.
True.
So you really have to know what is it you want to focus on. There's too much things going on right now.
So it calls for certain.
Breaking news. You don't have no time to analyze breaking news. You just take it and run.
Yeah. So yeah, this is the time when it calls for certain intuition. But it all goes forward to alignment with nature.
Yes.
That's where the morality stand now. It's the alignment with nature, alignment
Yeah.
with the
Yeah.
sun, alignment with the earth. These are the things that's going to give a more steadfastness to focus. You
You
know.
know, you know what else is needed in the alignment? The alignment
Yes,
of the
I.
male and the female. The alignment of the male and the female. Brethren,
Absolutely. Yes, I.
that
Absolutely.
I think is the essence of our problem.
Yeah.
Right? Because the same biblical story tells us that the male and the female are opposites. Brethren, we can't accept that.
No.
We cannot accept that the male and female are opposites because our male and female were always complementary. We never know opposition. We
No.
never had an opposition from the female and struggling as who's in control and who's the leader.
And yeah, I
But
feel
now,
that's something that's I think that's something that's promoted.
yes,
I think the lack of stability between them, especially the so-called black male and black female in particular,
yes,
I think that's something that's promoted because oh we see it, the Dr. Francis Cress Wilson, remember he
yes.
did say stabilized union between the black male and black female means the eventual end to white supremacy. Recall she did say
And
that?
why